In the courts of heaven, a record has been opened concerning the person who turned voices against you, distorted your intentions, repeated what you said in secret, and made your name carry a shadow you did not create. The truth that was hidden behind smiles, explanations, and carefully arranged stories has finally come into the light. What people believed about you was not the whole story. What they heard was not the whole truth. And what was done against your character did not escape the eyes of the God who sees in secret. There were conversations you were never invited into. There were conclusions formed without your presence. There were people who changed toward you, not because you had harmed them, but because someone else had already prepared their hearts against you. You felt the atmosphere shift. You sensed the distance. You watched familiar faces become guarded, cold, or suspicious, and you were left wondering how the story of you had become so different from the life you had actually lived. But heaven has been watching. The Lord has not been confused by the confusion. He has not been deceived by the performance. He has not mistaken the accusation for the truth. The person who tried to gather people against you may have controlled the narrative for a season, but they never controlled the record in heaven. And now, chosen one, the hidden thing is being unveiled. Not so you can become consumed with revenge, but so you can finally understand why certain doors closed, why certain relationships changed, and why God allowed you to walk through a season where you were judged by people who never took the time to know your heart. Stay with me. What comes next will not sound like an ordinary message, because it is not. If this word has already found something real in you, and you feel stirred to sow into this ministry, the Ko-fi link is in the description below at https://ko-fe.com/hevenchoosed. When you give, heaven sees it. God is not unaware of the hand that plants a seed in the middle of its own season of waiting. But this message is already yours, given or not. There is a reason this particular word found you. You have not merely been hurt by what happened, you have been wounded by the injustice of being misunderstood. You could have endured correction if correction had been honest. You could have accepted distance if the distance had been based on truth. But what wounded you was discovering that people were responding to a version of you created by someone who had already decided to misrepresent you. You tried to explain yourself, but every explanation sounded like defense. You tried to remain silent, but your silence was interpreted as guilt. You tried to keep peace, but the peace required you to carry blame that did not belong to you. You prayed for God to reveal the truth, yet the longer the season continued, the more it seemed as though the false story was becoming stronger than the facts. There were moments when your chest tightened because you saw people whispering and knew you were the subject. There were moments when your throat closed and you had no words left to offer. There were tears that came without warning, not because you were weak, but because your spirit was exhausted from being treated as though your heart had never been sincere. Heaven recorded those tears. The Lord saw every time you chose not to answer in anger. He saw every message you typed and erased because you did not want to make the situation worse. He saw the moments when you wanted to expose everything, but wisdom restrained your tongue. He saw you walk away without applause, without vindication, without a crowd gathering to defend you. You have walked roads that others could not even look at. You have endured the loneliness of being innocent and still unpopular. You have known what it feels like to be present in a room where everyone has already heard a story about you, yet no one has asked whether it was true. That kind of pain reaches deeper than ordinary disappointment. It attacks your sense of belonging. It makes you question your discernment. It makes you review every conversation, searching for the moment when everything changed. You begin to wonder whether you were too open, too trusting, too generous, or too willing to believe the best in someone who had already chosen the worst interpretation of you. But hear this clearly: the fact that someone misrepresented your heart does not mean your heart was false. The fact that someone rejected your character does not mean heaven rejected your character. The fact that people believed an accusation does not transform the accusation into truth. Psalm 37:6 says, "And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. That is not merely a beautiful sentence for somebody else's crisis. That is a living promise for the one who has been forced to stand beneath the shadow of a false story. God knows how to bring what is righteous into the open. He knows how to make the truth visible without requiring you to destroy yourself trying to prove it. If what was just spoken named something you have never said out loud, if it put words to a pain you have been carrying silently, I want you to write it in the comments, not for anyone else, for you. Let this be the moment it leaves the dark and enters the light. Heaven will meet you in what you release, and if the weight you have been carrying just felt seen for the first time, if something in your chest just released, I want to ask you something in this holy moment. Would you consider sowing a seed into this ministry? The Ko-fi link is in the description at https://ko-fi.com/heavenchoosed. The breakthrough being spoken over you in this message. Plant a seed in the same soil. Heaven does not forget what is sown in the middle of tears. You must understand what was operating beneath this betrayal. The enemy did not need to destroy you publicly if he could first make you unbelievable. He did not need to remove you from every room if he could make people uncomfortable whenever you entered. He did not need to silence your voice completely if he could cause others to question your motives before you ever spoke. This was not only conflict, it was character warfare. The assignment was delay through division, confusion through partial truth, and isolation through manufactured suspicion. The enemy studied what God placed inside you and recognized that your influence would increase when you were no longer dependent on the approval of the people who surrounded you. So the strategy was to make you feel rejected before you became established, discredited before you became visible, and alone before you understood the authority of your own calling. The person who turned people against you may have believed they were simply protecting themselves, defending their position, or telling their side. But the spiritual realm understood the consequence. Every distorted conversation became a thread in a net designed to hold you in shame. Every half-truth became a stone placed in front of your confidence. Every person recruited into the story became another voice telling you that perhaps you were the problem after all. But the net did not hold, the stronghold did not remain hidden forever. The false comfort of being accepted by people who only knew a manufactured version of you could not compete with the truth God was forming in you. Heaven allowed the mask to remain for a season, not because the Lord approved the deception, but because he was teaching you the difference between being known by people and being known by God. There is a difference between popularity and covenant. There is a difference between being surrounded and being covered. There is a difference between a crowd that agrees with a story and a Father who knows the whole truth. The person who turned everyone against you may have gathered people, but they could not gather heaven against you. They may have influenced opinions, but they could not rewrite your destiny. They may have closed human gates, but they could not close the gate God appointed for your next season. If the revelation of what has been operating against you just landed, if something in your spirit rose up with righteous anger and holy resolve, this is the moment to sow. The Ko-fi link is in the description at https://ko-fi.com/heavenchoosed. When you give in the middle of a warfare revelation, heaven takes notice. God sees the warrior who sows even while the battle is raging. That seed is holy ground. You were not being punished because people misunderstood you. You were being separated from the need to be understood by everyone. You were being delivered from the exhausting habit of explaining your heart to people committed to misreading it. You were being pulled out of a circle where your value depended on whether another person approved of your existence. That separation hurt because you loved sincerely. It hurt because you did not enter those relationships planning to leave them. It hurt because you believed time, truth, and consistency would eventually speak for you. Yet God was doing something deeper than restoring your reputation. He was restoring your discernment. Some people only loved the version of you they could manage. Some only welcomed you while they could predict your choices. Some only celebrated you while your light did not challenge their insecurity. When your growth became undeniable, Their relationship with you became a threat to the story they had built about themselves. So they needed you to remain small. They needed others to believe you were difficult, unstable, arrogant, selfish, or unworthy of trust. They needed your silence to look suspicious and your boundaries to look like a fence. But the Lord says, the judgment of people who benefited from your confusion will not determine the outcome of your life. Isaiah 54:17 declares, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. Notice the scripture does not say, no weapon will be formed. It says the weapon will not prosper. The tongue may rise, the accusation may spread, the conversation may travel farther than you expected, but it will not have the final authority over what God has established. The truth has finally come out because the season of concealment has ended. The same details that were once used to accuse you are now being reconsidered. The same people who accepted one person's version are beginning to notice the inconsistencies. The same character that was questioned is now being revealed through time, fruit, and endurance. You did not need to chase every rumor. You did not need to enter every argument. You did not need to answer every person who had already chosen not to hear you. God was building a witness stronger than your defense. He was allowing your life to testify while the false story exhausted itself. If you are still here, heaven is confirming something deep within you. Do not scroll away. What comes next is the part of this message that unlocks what has been sealed. You must not mistake vindication for permission to return to the same atmosphere. When God reveals the truth, He is not always calling you back into the relationship. Sometimes He is showing you why He brought you out. Sometimes the revelation is not an invitation to reconcile with the person who harmed you. It is an invitation to stop grieving a connection that was never safe for your destiny. There are doors you once begged God to reopen that you will thank Him for keeping closed. There are names you once wanted restored to your life that heaven will eventually remove from your prayers. There are people you thought you needed to convince who will one day become irrelevant to the peace God is giving you. Do not let the exposure of their behavior pull you back into their atmosphere. The truth is being revealed so you can move forward cleanly, not so you can become chained to the moment of betrayal. You are not being called to carry their image in your mind forever. You are being called to release the case into the hands of the divine judge. Deuteronomy 32:35 says, to me belongeth vengeance and recompense. The Lord is not asking you to become cruel. He is asking you to stop trying to perform the work of judgment with wounded hands. Vengeance belongs to Him because He can judge without hatred, correct without corruption, and restore without creating another wound. The Lord knows how to deal with the person who turned people against you. He knows what they intended, what they concealed, what they exaggerated, and what they omitted. He knows the private motive behind the public explanation. He knows whether their actions came from fear, jealousy, insecurity, control, or a deliberate desire to diminish you. But your responsibility is not to become obsessed with their consequences. Your responsibility is to remain aligned with your own consecration. If heaven's verdict just broke through a wall inside you, if something sealed just came open, I want you to act from that open place. Sow into this ministry. The Ko-fi link is in the description at https://ko-fi.com/heavenchoosed. Your seed planted in the soil of a fresh promise carries the anointing of that promise. Heaven does not forget what is given in the moment of receiving. Sow now and watch what grows. Romans 8:28 says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to His purpose. All things, not only the favorable things, not only the conversations where people defended you, not only the doors that opened easily. All things includes the betrayal, the loneliness, the false accusation, the painful separation, and the season when your name was discussed in rooms you could not enter. God is not endorsing what happened. He is redeeming what happened. He is taking the very thing that tried to reduce your influence and using it to deepen your authority. He is taking the very season that made you question your identity and using it to establish you in a knowledge of yourself that human approval cannot remove. You are learning that your identity cannot be placed in the hands of people who change their opinion when the crowd changes direction. You are learning that your peace cannot be governed by every rumor. You are learning that the truth of your life must be anchored in the one who formed you before anyone had an opinion about you. You are not what they called you. You are not the villain in someone else's unfinished story. You are not the accusation. You are not the rejection. You are not the whisper. You are a person known by God. You are a life marked by grace. You are a vessel carrying an assignment that cannot be cancelled by another person's insecurity. The mantle on your life did not disappear because someone refused to recognize it. The oil was not removed because someone mocked the vessel. Your inheritance was not revoked because a temporary crowd believed a permanent lie. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed thee in the belly I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb I sanctified thee." Before they knew you, God knew you. Before they labeled you, God called you. Before they gathered against you, heaven had already established a purpose within you. If the declaration that was just spoken landed in your spirit, if something in you rose up to meet it, I want you to write it in the comments. Declare it. Put it in words. What you confess with your mouth carries weight in the spiritual realm. Let this comment section become a wall of living declarations that heaven reads. Now receive this carefully. Vindication may not look like a public apology. It may not come in the form your wounded heart once imagined. It may be quieter than that. It may look like your name no longer carrying the same weight in a room where it was once attacked. It may look like new people meeting you without the prejudice of old conversations. It may look like opportunities arriving that do not require you to beg anyone to believe you. It may look like peace. It may look like waking up and realizing you are no longer rehearsing the betrayal. It may look like hearing their name without your entire body returning to the season. It may look like remembering what happened without becoming what happened. This is part of the restoration. The Lord is not merely restoring how others see you. He is restoring how you see yourself after being misrepresented for so long. You began to question whether your intentions were truly pure. You began to wonder whether your kindness had been foolishness. You began to distrust your instincts because someone used your openness against you. But wisdom does not mean becoming hard. Discernment does not mean becoming suspicious of everyone. Healing does not mean pretending the betrayal did not happen. Healing means the betrayal no longer gets to dictate the shape of your future. Here is what I want you to do in this season. First, stop placing your private worth on public approval. When you feel the old urge to investigate what people are saying, return to the presence of God before you return to the opinions of people. Let Psalm 139:23 become your prayer. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. Ask the Lord to reveal what is truly yours to correct and what was falsely placed upon you. Second, guard your gates. You do not need to give every person immediate access to your heart. Jesus said in Matthew 10:16, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents, and harmless as doves." Wisdom is not bitterness. Boundaries are not revenge. You can remain harmless without remaining unguarded. Third, refuse to become a messenger of the very spirit that wounded you. Do not repeat their secrets simply because they repeated yours. Do not destroy their name merely because they damaged yours. Let God establish the difference between you and them. Your clean hands are part of your vindication. There will be moments when you are tempted to send one final explanation. There will be moments when you want to gather evidence, present every detail, and force the truth into the understanding of everyone involved. But ask yourself whether you are seeking justice or simply hoping the people who hurt you will finally give you permission to breathe. The Lord can give you peace before they understand. He can restore your confidence before they apologize. He can establish your future without requiring the people from your past to approve it. If your spirit is still leaning in, that is heaven keeping you here for what is coming. What I am about to release next is the part that changes everything for someone watching right now. Do not leave, chosen one. The person who turned everyone against you did not have the power to turn God against you. That is the dividing line. Human voices may have gathered, but heaven remained clear. People may have withdrawn, but the presence of God did not withdraw. They may have closed their tables, but the Lord prepared a table before you in the presence of your enemies. Psalm 23:5 says, Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. The table is not merely about material blessing. It is about God publicly sustaining the one whom others expected to collapse. It is about remaining nourished when people wanted you depleted. It is about receiving oil when others tried to make you feel empty. Your cup is not defined by the people who refuse to pour into it. The Lord Himself is your portion. You are not overlooked. You are being repositioned. You are not forgotten. You are being separated. You are not discredited. You are being purified from the need to be validated by unstable voices. The story they told about you is not the story heaven is writing through you. And hear this again. The story they told about you is not the story heaven is writing through you. Say it in your spirit. The story they told about me is not the story heaven is writing through me. Now let the truth become stronger than the memory. Let the decree of God become louder than the accusation. Let the peace of Christ become deeper than the wound. If tears have found you right now, do not wipe them away. This is holy. And I want to ask you something in this sacred moment. Share this message with one person whose face just came to your mind. Heaven put them there for a reason, and hit like. Let that click be your agreement that what God is releasing over you is real. If something in you just recognized itself in this word, if your spirit has been waiting to hear someone speak to who you actually are, rather than what your circumstances suggest, this channel is built for you. Subscribe, hit the bell. Every word released here is a divine appointment for souls carrying an assignment too heavy to carry alone. What comes next week will build on what was laid here today. The fire of God is not burning you because you are rejected. It is burning away the false identity you accepted while trying to survive rejection. It is removing the labels that entered through repeated accusation. It is cleansing your memory from the power of another person's voice. You are not difficult because you finally established a boundary. You are not selfish because you stopped abandoning yourself. You are not arrogant because you refuse to keep apologizing for existing. You are not unloving because you walked away from manipulation. You are not disloyal because you chose truth over an arrangement built on fear. The Father is teaching you how to love without self-betrayal. You will not carry this wound into every future relationship. You will not punish new people for the sins of old people, but you will walk with discernment. You will notice fruit. You will listen to patterns. You will stop confusing chemistry with covenant and familiarity with safety. The next people God sends will not require you to perform innocence for them. They will recognize the fruit of your life. They will not need to be convinced by the loudest voice in the room. They will have enough spiritual maturity to ask questions before forming judgment. They will know the difference between a person who is imperfect and a person who is intentionally harmful. And you will know the difference too. If your chest is tight right now, if hope is rising against everything that tried to bury it, this is your moment. Hit like as your declaration that you receive this word. Share this video with someone whose name came to you just now. Heaven does not bring names to mind by accident. They need what you just received, chosen one. The truth has finally come out, but your greatest revelation is not about them. It is about you. You survived being misunderstood without becoming cruel. You survived being rejected without abandoning your capacity to love. You survived being falsely accused without surrendering your integrity. You survived the loss of a community and discovered that the presence of God was not a lesser community. The Lord was with you in the silence. He was with you when the message went unanswered. He was with you when your invitation disappeared. He was with you when the room became cold. He was with you when you had to eat alone, pray alone, and make decisions without the reassurance of people who once claimed to stand beside you. He was with you in every place where you wondered whether you had been forgotten, and now he is bringing you into a place where your belonging will not be built on human approval. You will belong because you are his. You will stand because he established you. You will speak because he gave you a voice. You will move because the gates cannot hold against what God has placed inside you. If something broke open in you during this message, if the person who pressed play and the person who is hearing these words right now are not quite the same, I need you to stay connected to what heaven is releasing through this ministry. Subscribe, hit the bell. What was released today was not the ceiling, it was the floor of what comes next. Every week a new word, every week a new layer. Do not miss what is being prepared for your next season. If the fire that just fell has not gone cold, this is your moment to sow. The Ko-Fi link is in the description at https://ko-fi.com/heavenshoes. The breakthrough being released over your life in this message, plant a seed into it. What you give from the fire of encounter, heaven multiplies in the harvest of your next season. Sow from the overflow. Before we enter this prayer together, I want to hear from you. Share in the comments what this message has stirred, unlocked, or confirmed in your spirit. Let this comment section become an altar of testimonies. There is someone scrolling through these comments right now who needs to see your story. As we prepare to close in prayer, if something in you is stirred to give, I want you to know that your seed is not small to heaven. The Ko-Fi link is in the description at https://ko-fi.com/hvenchoosed. Every act of generosity performed in faith is a fragrance before the throne. God is pleased by the heart that gives freely, and what pleases the Father, he answers. Father, I bring before you the one hearing this word. I thank you that you are the God who sees what people conceal, the God who knows the truth beneath every accusation, the God who judges righteously and defends the innocent without confusion. Thank you for sustaining this beloved child through the season of betrayal. Thank you for keeping their heart alive when misunderstanding tried to harden it. Thank you for giving them strength when they had no audience, courage when no one stood beside them, and restraint when their flesh wanted to answer every lie with another wound. Lord, you know the person who turned others against them. You know every conversation, every distortion, every omission, every motive, and every consequence. You know what was done in secret and what was presented in public. We place the entire case before your throne. We refuse to carry what belongs to your judgment. In the name of Jesus, we renounce the stronghold of shame, confusion, self-doubt, and false identity. We break agreement with every lie that entered through repeated accusation. We silence the voice that says they must prove their worth to those who have already chosen misunderstanding. We cancel the assignment of isolation, division, discouragement, and delayed purpose. Let every weapon formed against their character fail to prosper. Let every tongue that rose in judgment lose its authority. Let truth rise with clarity. Let hidden motives be exposed without requiring this child to fight with unclean hands. Let the record of heaven speak louder than the rumors of earth. Father, restore what this betrayal tried to steal. Restore confidence without arrogance. Restore discernment without suspicion. Restore tenderness without vulnerability to manipulation. Restore community, but only send relationships that carry honesty, maturity, and peace. Prepare a table before them, in the presence of every voice that expected them to remain disgraced. Anoint their head with fresh oil. Let their cup run over with wisdom, peace, holy courage, and divine favor. Move them into rooms where they do not have to defend the truth of who they are, because the fruit of their life will speak before they arrive. Your word says in Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against them shall prosper. Let that word become visible in their life. Your word says in Psalm 37:6, that you will bring forth their righteousness as the light. Bring it forth, Lord. Make it clear. Make it undeniable. Your word says in Romans 8:28, that all things work together for good for those who love you and are called according to your purpose. Redeem every painful detail and weave it into a testimony that brings glory to your name. Give them grace to forgive without returning to unsafe places. Give them wisdom to recognize the difference between reconciliation and repeated exposure. Give them strength to release revenge and freedom to stop rehearsing the betrayal. Heal the part of them that still waits for an apology before allowing peace to enter. Let their name be separated from the story that was spoken against them. Let their future be untouched by the opinions of people who could not see their heart. Let new doors open according to your will, and let every door connected to manipulation remain closed. Cover them under the shadow of your wings. Guard their mind while they sleep. Guard their emotions when old memories rise. Guard their mouth from bitterness and their heart from retaliation. Let the peace that passes understanding stand watch over them. The truth has come out, and now let freedom come in. The false story is losing its power. The old atmosphere is losing its hold. The wound is becoming wisdom. The betrayal is becoming discernment. The rejection is becoming redirection. The silence is becoming strength. Bless this chosen one with a clean heart, a clear path, and a renewed fire. Let them walk forward without looking back for permission. Let them know that they are seen, known, covered, and loved by you. In Jesus' mighty and matchless name. Amen. Thank you for staying until the end. If this word spoke directly to your soul, subscribe for fresh prophetic words released every week through this ministry. Share this with someone walking through their darkest season. You may not know how much they need this exact word today. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are being formed for the fullness of what heaven has written for your life. God bless you.